What just happened? I'm Dan, that's Backface, and today we're here to talk Bad Monkey Episode 4. Nothing wrong with it. I just don't need it anymore. With these long ass episode titles, they continue to deliver, and you're a fan of it.
Yeah, I like it. It reminds me of like old school emo song titles from like back in the early 2000s. Tell that Mickey just made my list of things to do today. Very good Fall Out Boy song. Very good. Very long name, but yeah, no, I like it.
Yeah, and I like the show, man. It's really turned into something I didn't expect. I thought we were getting a classic murder mystery, and that's not at all what we got. It's completely turned on its head. Last week we got the big reveal. This week we got flashbacks that gave us all of the answers. So it's like there's still some things we don't know, like who's dirty and who's not, and that's what we're here to find out. But like for the most part, we know a lot. We know a lot of info.
Yeah, which makes me think that there is another twist somewhere in this show.
It's gotta be.
Yeah,
something's up.
Yeah, something feels like I'm glad it's like last episode when they revealed I'm gonna call him Peter just because I love him in Deadpool so much.
Yeah,
it's so good. But then when they revealed that he was still alive, I was like, oh, this is a flex. This isn't even the real mystery. And then this episode really felt like reinforcing that, which is like, no, this is so much deeper than you think it's gonna be. And we'll talk about everything, but I feel like they dropped a lot of good little hints along the way of like, this is more than you're thinking it is.
I totally agree. So before we get into the recap, once we hit 5,000 subscribers, we're very close. We're giving away $75 on Venmo, and you can have 50% off on anything you want in the merch store. So let's get into it. Starts out with how it ended last week, that Nick is Christopher. So I don't know which name to call him by. I guess I'll go with Nick before he faked his own death and Christopher afterwards, or just Peter, because I love him in Deadpool. So then we go 5 years flashback, right? We see Eve. She's in an acting class and she's trying to cry. And this comes into play later. And she can't cry. The director or the coach calls her out. And then she goes,
"But do you think Aiden's work was so great if he wasn't sucking your cock before every class?"
And then the guy smells his own breath and she gets kicked out.
Get out! Fuck you.
So Eve's at a low point when she meets Nick, right? She's at a very, very low point. And Nick and Caitlin, they seem to have a great relationship at this time. This is pre-drug abuse for Caitlin. And she did a modeling gig. So they go to this party. And I said in this scene, he's more like Peter from Deadpool at this time. Because that's literally what I thought. And then you texted me that. And I was like, yeah, he seems way more like that character in this time frame.
Yeah.
And Eve totally fucked him up. So he meets Eve. They hit it off right away. They start dancing in the club, and then we transport to their marriage. And Zach Braff is the best man.
Hey, everyone, I'm the best man. Hi, honey.
And the marriage pissed off Caitlin.
This is bullshit.
That probably caused her downward spiral because she seemed totally fine before that. And then she gets all into drugs, and then she gets into this church, meets her fiance. So that's how her character goes through. So
can I just say,
yeah,
I just fucking loved the Twilight line.
I promise to love you every moment of forever.
At the wedding.
Yeah, right.
Man, that killed me. His delivery is so good.
That's from Twilight.
He's like, watch it. It's a shitty movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
Amazing.
Yeah, I love this actor, and it sucked to hate him for the first few episodes, but I still kind of hate him because of all the shit he did. But like, you can see he's not the real villain here. The real villain is Eve. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. But Yancy was a detective in Miami at this time.
Miami PD, freeze!
Nick and Izzy, they were doing their super rolly scam. Eve knew it was a scam, and she plays with Izzy, saying she's going to call the cops, but really, she's happy this is happening.
We're fucking with you, man.
Baby, we got him so good!
Because all she wants is money, and she's with Nick to be taken care of. And that's what she wants, right? That's her whole point in this moment. So then this is when Yancy meets the mailbox guy, Mendez. The mailbox he ripped off the lawn?
Yep.
That's Mendez, and he was running scams at this time too. Yancy says he's as dirty as a sock. They're like, that's not a saying. He's like,
I mean, he's as dirty as a sock on the highway. That's not a real expression. None of them are real expressions until someone says them, okay? So I'm a groundbreaker.
So now he's like, Mendez, you won't make detective now. But we see later on he does become detective. But then this is when Yancy gets transferred to the Keys. We see him in the Keys. He's accepted his life. And Him and Ro were in a good place at this time, even though he kind of says to Ro that, yo, you're such a downer. I thought when you came out, you'd be more happy. And he's always so upset and such a downer. But you saw they had a good relationship. This is when he meets Bonnie, even though that's not her real name. But people in our Discord, which if you want to join, it's $1, seem to think that she's going to be a big part to play in this, especially with how the episode ends. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm feeling like she's going to be a big part of it.
Who's that?
Trouble.
She'll come in handy in some way, shape, or form. Yeah.
Yep.
So then they're in the Bahamas, and Eve comes up with the image of the resort.
You gotta dream bigger. You see right there? That will be the lobby of our exclusive island resort.
And she puts it into Nick's head, saying, let's dream bigger, honey. Let's do something with our lives more than this Rolly scam that we're doing. So he goes, anything you want, baby.
All right, maybe I can try to increase the cash flow, and then maybe, we could buy some property.
But then the feds come. They talk to him and Izzy. And they're like, oh, our records are off site. Sorry. And now their new plan is
Get rid of every trace of this place and get out of Dodge. What am I supposed to tell Marisol?
And then he's like, holy shit. And then Izzy starts taking drugs, and we see he becomes a full-on addict later on.
Why are you messing with that shit?
So everything starts to make sense, right? That's
Yep.
what this episode did. This episode pieced everything together, and it's like, oh, that's because of this, and this is because of that. So I like that. That was a really, really cool scene.
I usually hate episodes like this where we're going back through other episodes and getting context. Usually I'm like, yeah, I kind of knew all this already, but they add so much depth to Nick, and I still want to call him Peter, but they add so much depth to his character, and it's so entertaining. Like the way it's written, it's just so funny, and it's nice to see he's just like a normal guy that just kind of fucked up, and he's just slowly slipping into this because of this one relationship he has. He's just slowly becoming like a mob boss, which is way cooler than I thought it was going to be, because I assumed it would be like he had this urge to be a badass or something.
Yes.
But he's just like a regular dude that was like, oh fuck, I don't want to go to jail, and it's just kind of tumbled down the hill from there. Yeah,
exactly. Like he was a normal ass dude, but he was doing a scam, so he found himself in a position where he needed to come up with a plan. And Eve's like, I'm not going back, and Nick's like, well, I can't go to the jail. And then at this point she's like, I need someone to take care of me. You said you would take care of me.
I need someone who takes care of me.
This is the part where we see Bonnie. We knew this before. She was getting beat by her husband. So Yancy wants to take care of it. Rose says, don't do shit. But we see what he does. He knocks his golf cart into the water, and that gets him demoted. Like you said, stuff we've seen before, but they did it in an interesting way. This is when Nick comes up with the plan to fake his death.
Dead. No more feds after me. Change my name. Go to the Bahamas. We're living free and breezy.
At first, he wants to cut off 2 fingers. Eve's like,
Only 2 fingers? I mean, that's so lame.
I don't think anybody's going to buy that. And he's like, I'll cut off my arm.
I mean, everybody will buy that.
And she's like, oh, baby, that's the sweetest thing anyone's ever done for me. She's a certified psychopath.
It's the most romantic thing that anyone's ever done for me.
This woman is out of her mind.
Oh my God.
Out of her mind. And she calls it romantic. And then he called Caitlin to say he's going on a fishing trip, says he loves her. She says,
Whatever.
so that's the last time they talked before she thought he was actually dead. So that's kind of morbid, but that's not the actual last time they talked because he wasn't actually dead. But yeah, that's where their relationship was in that current time. And then Izzy is the one that cuts off his arm. So Izzy did a lot in this operation, and it sucks that he got killed for it. Eve took the watch, and a lot of people were speculating if the watch is going to come back to matter.
I almost forgot his watch. Ew, gross fuck.
Rosa figured out which watch it was, so maybe they find it. I don't know, and that helps piece it together. Yancy's kind of fucked by the end of this episode, so Rosa's going to have to do some work on her own next week, so we'll see. But yeah, we see all this stuff happen. So Izzy hits the arm with the propeller to make it more look like a boating accident. He pays Pussy Magnet, and then Pussy Magnet was the one that put the middle finger up on the arm.
Love him.
A little
Fucking
touch that
great dude.
he wanted to add. So yeah, we see everything full circle, and then Eve gets the arm. All stuff that we knew, but now we see how it happened. So really cool how they did it. And now he's Christopher. All right, I'm going to go with him by that as Christopher. And he gives shit to Yaya in the Bahamas, and she curses him. She does a little circle point thing. Curses him.
Man, this scene
scary.
was so badass. Holy shit, man. Just like, I'm sure you're about to talk about it, but when Egg and that other girl face off and she just,
Yeah, the
no
Dragon
fear.
Queen?
She got
Yeah.
no fear, man. She's
No.
just looking him in the eyes like, you're not from here, are you? Just like, oh, shit.
I go fuck up his world. You ain't from around here, eh?
Yeah. He's
Yeah,
like, you
man.
should know better, Egg. You should know better.
Yeah,
But he's
yeah,
like,
that
hey,
was-
I'm getting paid, so whatever. And then Yaya curses Egg. So we'll see if that comes to haunt them in the end. And you know that Neville has the curse out on Christopher, so we'll see if any of that pays off. Who knows?
Yep.
I'm sure they'll get their comeuppance in the end. So I'm sure they'll get what's coming to them. Eve is the one to convince Christopher to kill Pussy Magnet. So she turned him into what we saw in the prior episodes when he shot at Neville, acting all badass mob boss like you were talking about. She turned him into that, and he wasn't that at all.
Yeah.
So it's a shame. He was a good guy. Christopher shows up at Izzy's as Yancy was on the way. We saw the text message. He asks about him, and he says, "Look."
But then I texted him and told him to come over, and I would tell him everything. Fuck off.
But I won't say shit about you. I'll say everything about the insurance scam, and I'll take the fall. I have a guilty conscience. I'm not going to say shit about you.
My conscience is not your problem. I'll tell him, you know what? I'll tell him it's about the insurance scam.
So then he's like, all right, I got to use the restroom. He goes, hangs up the poncho, kills him, makes it look like a suicide while putting blame on him for killing Pussy Magnet. So it's like all tied up in a little ball. And Christopher is just so upset with Eve that she's not getting that he's upset that he had to kill his best friend for her. And like she turned him into this.
It was me who shot that kid. And it was me who just killed my best friend.
And who hears it but Heather with the weather.
She knew she was coming back.
Yeah. Then that gets tied up because Eve kills her. And it's just like, what the fuck, dude?
Man,
crazy.
And that scene was brutal. She like shoots her in the neck and then in the stomach, and she's like not dying, and she's like, this bitch.
This woman.
This
You're like,
bitch.
no, man, like no remorse, just full psychopath.
Yeah. So then we're all caught up. Back to Caitlin hugging her father. And, you know, she doesn't know all the crazy shit they did. She just knows about the insurance scam to get the money for faking his death. And she's kind of cool with that. So that's where they're at. And Yancy and Rosa were with Madeline. Ro asks why Rosa is there. And then they kind of get along. They speak Spanish to each other.
Ooh, I like her.
But I'm glad you two get along.
So I'm kind of off Ro in the moment. Maybe he's not bad.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I was feeling that this episode.
Because he seemed kind of cool in that moment. So we'll see. We'll circle back to that next week. See how he acts with Yancy going missing and everything. And then Ro notices Heather was killed on TV. And then he gets a call from Mendez, who is now a detective. And he says that Izzy is the one who killed Pussy Magnet and Izzy killed himself.
We got a suicide up here in Miami, the ballistics match, plus the poncho.
Open and shut case. Don't worry about it anymore. And then Ro kind of seems suspicious with Mendez, like not trusting him. He's like, oh, where'd you get the tip from?
Get it off your tip line?
Fuck you.
Like kind of rubs it in. Like, yeah, I know about you, motherfucker.
That
So
was
that's
good.
where that's where again where I'm like, oh, Ro's cool now. So I kind of thought that in the moment. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. But then Yancy calls Caitlin as she's with her dad as they're getting along. She ignores the call. But then this gets Christopher to act later on. We see what he does. We'll talk about it in a minute. And then Rosa and Yancy know that Izzy didn't kill himself because of where the bullet entrance was.
The entry wound is behind his ear.
You know that they're trying to say that after he murdered Finney, he killed himself.
I agree with you. There's no fucking way that he killed himself.
And she's like, I'll say something to keep it open and point it to murder. But then gets a little frisky. She locks the door. She turns off the lights. She says, it's so sexy that you're so honest. She kisses him. She gets on top of him. Showtime. We all know what happens. So we all knew that was coming.
Oh, yeah.
We all knew that was coming.
Yeah, I'm cool here.
Oh,
Yeah, really cool. And then Eve talks about what Caitlin knows.
It's just, she knows a lot now. And
And then Christopher's like, yo, dude, are you talking about killing my fucking daughter right now? No.
Yeah.
And then she finally gets fake crying right. Finally gets it right. And then he buys it.
Like sociopathic too, how she pretty much uses the lines from the play that she was in.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, the actress that plays her is fantastic. I feel like it must not be easy to play someone who's bad at acting.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah, seriously, yeah.
Yeah. She does a
Yeah,
really
it's
good
funny.
job. Yeah.
That's a funny way to look at it. That's funny. So yeah, it works. He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I misjudged you." And then she gets her way again. So then Rosa's sister calls, and Yancy says he loves her on the way out the door. How about that?
Hey, I love you.
Throws a love line at her.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I don't know, a little early for that.
I kind of liked it because it felt more like it was a joke and they both knew that he was joking.
Okay,
Like
all right.
he wasn't pulling it out like, I love you. He was just like,
yeah.
how do I leave this in like an awkward way?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
In a Vince Vaughn way. Yeah, sure.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll take that. So she calls with the news that Heather's dead, and she's excited. And she said last week, "I hope that bitch is dead."
Yeah.
She got her wish. She got her wish. She's funny, her sister. I want to see more scenes of her.
Yeah, she's
funny
pretty
as shit.
funny.
Every
Yeah.
scene she's in, she cracks me up. So she gets the news that she's filling in. She's going to be the weather girl because Heather with the weather is dead. So that's what we got. And then Izzy's next door neighbor saw someone outside of Izzy's, takes Mendez away from going to his Heat game. And he's like, "Oh, it's an open and shut case. Oh, he was tall. Cool. That's all we need. That's all we need." She's like, "No, it was that guy." And the picture that he took earlier of Yancy flipping him off came back into play. And she's like, "It's that guy." And he's like, "Oh, shit." So do you think Mendez is clearly a dirty guy, right?
Yeah.
From his past and everything. Do you think he called Christopher with that information? And that's why Christopher went after him?
No.
No, you don't.
I think Christopher went after him because he was calling his daughter.
Okay.
And I think Mendez is going to come at him from the other side.
From the other side. Okay.
Yeah, I feel
All
like
right,
they're not related. Mendez is just going to try and fuck with them because of their past kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it just seemed, just because it happened right after.
Yeah.
It just
it
seemed
feels
like
like it's
maybe.
connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I get it. That he called her on the beach and he didn't like that. So yeah. So he sees the deer that he saved, that he gave to the vet with the missing limb, and then he puts it together. He's like, "What if Nick is Christopher and he's not actually dead?" He leaves this message for Rosa.
And what if Christopher is actually fucking Nick? I mean, this is exciting.
And then he gets knocked out with the tire iron. What was that?
Yeah. Tire iron or
Yeah,
pry
tire
bar.
Yeah, one of those car things. Gets
Man.
knocked out by Christopher, and that's the episode.
Fuck you.
So that's where we're at. Crazy.
Love the writing for this show. You could take something like that deer scene from, what was that, episode 2? And
Yeah.
do you think it could just be like building him as a good character, like he's secretly really good on the inside and he cares about animals?
Right.
But to bring it all the way back to having it be the reason that he realizes Christopher is good without an arm. So cool, man. It's such a,
really cool.
like, I don't know. It just feels like there's no wasted time in this show.
There's not.
Yeah, there's no scenes that I'm like, what was that for? But they're all so engaging. It doesn't feel like I'm sitting there doing homework, you know? I'm not trying to pay attention to every detail to try and figure out what's going on and who's who. I'm just enjoying it, and then you're like, "Oh, whoa, shit, that came back up. That's crazy."
Yeah,
it's really good.
It's funny too because we both kind of complained, "Oh, it's an hour of the episode," but it
Yeah.
kind of flew by. It kind of flew
It
by,
did.
and it was like
It did.
really enjoyable throughout. So yeah, no
Yeah.
wasted time. Everything kind of makes sense, and it all wrapped up. And we have all this information that we know now. What's he gonna do with Yancy? Is he gonna take him somewhere and try to kill him? And then Ro comes to save him. Rosa comes to save him. Bonnie, who knows, man? That's where you guys come in with the comments. Let us know what you guys think. But I'm loving this show, having a blast watching it. It's number 1 on Apple for a reason. And yeah, I think more people should be watching it, if anything.
I really hope that more people pick up on this show because I haven't seen something that I really enjoyed Vince Vaughn in a while. And it really reminded me like why I liked him so much in like the dodgeball era of things. You know, he's just so like funny, but he feels so warm and cold, and he just has so much nuance to the characters that he plays. Even though it's usually always the same character, his shtick is good when you haven't seen it in like 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah, it works, man. It works, especially for this role. I really love him in this role. It's a lot of fun. So
It is.
I'm loving this show. Let us know your theories below. Do you have anything to go with after this episode? What's Christopher going to do? What's the plan? How does Yancy get out of trouble? Let us know down below. But we will see you next week for episode 5. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Later.
Peace.
Check it out. It's awful.
I can literally smell your balls off his breath.
What just happened?
What just happened?
What just happened?
That just happened.
Really did enjoy the sex. Probably should have led with that.